Hey guys, what's going on? Jebb here, and today I'm going to be doing a little bit more longer-term technical analysis here on the Bitcoin chart because I constantly talk about on the channel how important the longer-term aspect and the longer-term outlook for cryptocurrency is, and then I turn around and do a lot of videos talking about what's happened in the last day and a half on the Bitcoin chart. So in this video, I want to do some more longer-term Bitcoin technical analysis, and then as the video continues, I'm also going to show you why I'm still so very bullish on Bitcoin and cryptocurrency for the year of 2018. A lot of people say that I'm kind of a glass-half-full kind of guy when it comes to Bitcoin, even though we're seeing big pullbacks here, and they're absolutely right, I am, and I'm going to be explaining why that is in this video. But before we get into that, if you enjoy the video, you should definitely think about leaving a like, subscribing, and dropping a comment, because I really like reading you guys' comments, especially lately, because some of you have begun to flame me recently, and I find that very humorous, that you'd spend your time flaming me. So let's get right into it. First, I want to do a little bit of technical analysis on the Bitcoin chart. Like I said, I'm going to show you some of the key trend lines and some of the key support and resistance levels that we're dealing with here on the long-term Bitcoin chart here. I'm going to be doing this on the 4-hour chart because I don't want to be able to zoom in a little bit. The first thing I want to talk about is what I base pretty much all of my technical analysis off of right now. Pretty much, if you come in the Discord, which you should, and you ask me about Bitcoin, I'm probably going to mention what I'm about to say here. So this is really important. I want to talk about this trend line right here that I've just highlighted. This one right here, this is a very important trend line. If you don't have this trend line on your chart, you need to have it on your chart. I'm on the linear scale here. I'm going to show you something on the log scale here in a minute. But we're on the linear scale here, and this trend line is constructed by a touch here down at 1800 on this pullback from 3000 to 1800, and then it also has a touch down here at 3000 from the 5000 to 3000 pullback, and it also just happens that we bounce off of that and off of 6000 over here when we had the pullback on February the 6th. So this is a very, very important trend line. This trend line has been set and has been in effect for about 8 months now in cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. So it's a very important trend line. And as you can see, we're getting kind of close to it down here, which is why I have this arrow and tilde 6800, because this is going to be an important level of support. If Bitcoin and Bitcoin continues to fall down, it needs to stay above this trend line. That's really important. The other level of support that I want to talk about is $6,000 for Bitcoin, because this is also a very important level of support. As you can see, we pulled back to it right here, and we have a bunch of support right here, and we have some resistance over here. So the price level of 6,000 is very important. Also, 5,000 isn't too far from 6,000, so that helps a little bit. If we do break this, pretty much the last thing that we have holding us up is the 6,000 level. This is like this is the last resort. If we have to pull back to $6,000, that's it. If we drop below $6,000, I'm going to change my tune. I'm going to be bearish. I don't think that's going to happen, though. What I kind of expect is going to happen here in this little pullback that we're seeing is that we're probably going to come back. We're going to see a little bit of a fake recovery right here because we just don't really have the volume right now. If we turn the volume on here, you can see the volume's picking up, but it's not really that high right now. I think what might happen here is that we might go ahead and pull back to this trend line, get support here, which would be fine, because if we do that, we're probably going to get a big bounce off of it and come right back up. Something I want to talk about with the little pullback that we're seeing here is that the real big reason this pullback is happening, it's not everything to do with news, although the news has definitely affected it. A big thing that's kind of happened here is that we set a double top formation. We had a double top form here at 11.7, which is really not great. I'm going to show you why that happened, or why I think that happened here in just a second. But that's really what's been holding us down. We made this double top, and that's obviously going to pull us down. We got really overextended here down here on the sell side action on the RSI, so we had a little bit of a recovery here. We had a double bottom here, and then we fell through that. Right now, we're trying to recover off of right around 8,500. 8,500? 8,000. I thought that was wrong. So yeah, let's talk about this double top here. I want to show you some of the things that I think have caused this double top. Now, I may have a slip of the tongue in some of my videos where I say this is why X happened in the market. Now, I want you guys to realize that no one can tell you exactly why something happened in the market. If they're saying that, they're misspeaking, or they don't know what they're talking about. Probably a mixture of both in my case. But a lot of times when I say that I'm misspeaking, of course you cannot actually say definitively what caused some market action. A lot of the cryptocurrency and a lot of Bitcoin's in the hands of a very small number of people, so big market swings can kind of just happen by chance. So a lot of this can't be determined by technical analysis, but it can definitely help, which is why I want to talk about this double top, because this is what's holding us down right now. This is part of what's holding us down right now, I think. I just went there and contradicted myself. A big thing that caused this, or that helped to set that double top, is this uptrend right here, which was a little bit more aggressive than the one that we're trying to stay above right now. Essentially, this was formed down here at 3,000, a touch here at 6,000. We had some support here at 9,000, and then we got a little bit of resistance on it. We got above it, and then fell back below it, and then we got resistance on it here. That's the reason, or the technical reason, that this topped out right here. It's also part of the technical reason is also because we hit we formed a double top here. The reason that this top formed from a technical standpoint is because we were still in a trading channel, and we're back in the trading channel now, unfortunately, because of this downtrend. And this is another really important downtrend. If you take two trend lines out of this video, have it be this trend line right here and this trend line right here, the long-term one that I was talking about, this long-term trend line and this long-term downtrend, those two trend lines are ridiculously important for Bitcoin. This market right here, we fell back down because we hit this downtrend. And actually, with this one, a similar thing happened. If we come here on the log scale, and we take this is going to look like a mess because it's going to mess up all my trend lines. But if we take a trend line, then we can also draw the trend line such that the trend line actually calls this the touch on the downtrend. So if you use the log scale, we're still in a trading channel. This touch was even still in a trading channel. So we're not out of the trading channel in a log scale. And essentially what a log scale is it changes the chart. Let me zoom this out to a week so I can show you what a log scale is real quick. It changes the way the chart looks so that it's based off of percentage moves. So 10,000 to 20,000 is a 100% move, and 5 to 10 is a 100% move. So it's scaled so that the chart isn't linear. Let's go back to I want a great definition, but let's go back to the 4 hour because I want to show you that again. So what happened here is that part of the reason this topped out here is because we had this downtrend from 20,000 right here at 17,000, and then also this topped out here. So it was kind of the perfect storm that created that double top, and that's really what's been holding us down. Let's just review a little bit. I'm going to take this off the chart. Let's just review a little bit. Actually, I want to say first why I don't use the log scale. A lot of professional traders do use the log scale because it is a better way to look at the chart, actually. The reason I use the Bitcoin over US dollar format is because people are more familiar with it, and since a lot of people are more familiar with it, that makes it more powerful in my opinion, so that's why I personally use it. But let's review. This downtrend right here is extremely important. This uptrend right here is extremely important. If Bitcoin falls below this trend line, the last real level of support, in my opinion, is 6,000 flat. If we fall below that, I'm definitely going to be bearish on Bitcoin for the long term. But so long as we stay above this uptrend and $6,000, I feel perfectly fine. I could not care less about price action. And in the really long term, I could not care less even if it drops below 6,000 because I'm invested for the next several decades. Price action in the short term doesn't really matter. I showed in one of my most recent videos that a lot of you probably saw. I showed just how irrelevant the price action that we're dealing with is here. If we really think Bitcoin's going to go to $200,000, $300,000, $500,000, this right here I believe is 2040. Yeah, this line right here is 2040. This right here is 2050. This is $500,000 per Bitcoin right up here, and that's the current market. You have some perspective yet? Yeah. Don't freak out about it. It doesn't matter. The human life expectancy is 76 years in America, so you don't need to worry about what's happening in the next 76 months. It's just not really important. So I think I've pretty much covered everything I want to talk about here on the chart. Let's see. I covered this downtrend, I covered this uptrend, I covered the double top, and I covered a little bit more short-term technical analysis. Like I said, the reason I wanted to talk about that is because a lot of times I talk about how very important the long-term outlook for Bitcoin is, where I kind of just do a lot of short-term technical analysis, so I definitely wanted to zoom out and show you guys some more longer-term technical analysis. Now, let's get into why I'm still bullish on Bitcoin, rather. Caught myself there. Sometimes I do make that mistake. Just know that I am bullish, and if I say I'm bearish in the long term, I'm misspeaking. Something that I want to talk about is I want to talk about a lot of other things that are kind of surrounding Bitcoin that are affecting its price action. First of all, I want to go over the number of unconfirmed transactions sitting here in the mempool. We're on blockchain.info. All of these websites that I'm referencing will be linked in the description down below. But essentially what this website does is it shows you the number of unconfirmed transactions for Bitcoin that are waiting to be confirmed by the miners. This number has been as high as, I want to say, about 300,000. I've personally seen it as high as about 275,000. It's currently right around 3,000, excuse me. And the number of unconfirmed, and this is not a causal relationship. Well, it is a causal relationship. It's not a, I'm going to be quiet. It's not, the relationship between the number of unconfirmed transactions and the fees is typically pretty similar. So the more unconfirmed transactions there are, typically the higher the fees are going to be, and I'm going to talk about the Bitcoin fees here in a second, but typically the higher the number of unconfirmed transactions sitting in the mempool are, the higher the fees are. So this number being very low indicates two things. It indicates that the fees are going down, and because the miners don't have as many high-value fees to choose from, but it also indicates that the number of transactions that are being used on the blockchain is decreasing, so long as the number of transactions per second has not changed. Now, this number I've noticed is pretty often very wrong, but We're seeing a lot of technologies implemented like SegWit and Lightning Network, which are also going to bring this number down drastically. So I don't really think we're ever going to see the highs of like 275,000 unconfirmed transactions and taking a week for a transaction to go through in Bitcoin. I just don't think that's going to happen, because I think by the time the market is roaring as much as it was in late December, Lightning Network and SegWit and everything will be online, which will definitely help the Bitcoin blockchain actually being able to process transactions. Let's talk about those fees, because back during mid-December, early December, we saw like 275,000 transactions sitting in the mempool. Right around the same time, like I was talking about, the fees were also very high. This is a chart showing the average transaction fees, the average transaction fees for Bitcoin going back to September up until right now. And as you can see, the transaction fees spiked up here right around $55 on average per Bitcoin transaction, which is completely ridiculous for a cryptocurrency. A lot of people, it completely just halted the liquidity in the network. It was terrible. SegWit and Lightning Network are helping with that, because SegWit, it doesn't actually, but it effectively increases the block size. It effectively increases the number of transactions that can fit in a block, which obviously is going to help the number of transactions that can go through per second. And Lightning Network is a layer 2 solution, which is going to pretty much provide infinite scalability for Bitcoin, so that's likely never really going to be an issue ever again. So the transaction fees are definitely going down. Back here, I remember I was trying to send some Bitcoin on Coinbase, and they wanted me to pay like $37 in transaction fees. I'm like, screw that. I'm not going to send that right now. I'll just wait. And what I did is a couple days ago, I sent it, because the transaction fees right now on average are like $1. And a lot of times, if you set your transaction fees to like 10 cents right now, your transaction will still get through in a timely manner. So that's definitely another good thing for Bitcoin, is that the transaction fees are going down so that we can actually have some liquidity in the market. Another thing I want to talk about, I touched on Lightning Network just a second ago. This is an article that I covered in yesterday's video, which I started to make this video completely on, but it's yesterday's news and it just wasn't really enough for an entire video. But Lightning Network has gone into beta. It is open for development. It's into beta. It's open for development so that people can start developing with it in their own applications. So it's not really live yet. In certain cases, you may actually be able to use it, but I wouldn't recommend it because it's still in beta, and you don't really want to start sending a bunch of transactions that are worth a lot of money on a protocol that is not on a system that is not doesn't have all the kinks worked out of it. So if you find a way that you can actually use Lightning Network yet, I wouldn't do that. If you want to test it, you can go do that on the Bitcoin or Litecoin testnet. Let's also talk about the Bitcoin adoption, because Bitcoin adoption is what really drives price action in the long run. News, whales, etc. will drive price action in the short term, but actual adoption, how much people are actually using the coin, is definitely going to drive the price action in the long term. You can come here on Cointelegraph and it'll have a list of different Bitcoin adoption stories, but as you can see, they're kind of spaced apart, like February 3rd, February 5th, 16th, 24th, 25th, 10th. There's a lot more adoption stories than that coming out. I'm not sure what Cointelegraph is up to here, but the Bitcoin adoption is steadily, gradually increasing. It is getting in front of a lot more people. A lot more people are aware of Bitcoin than they were just a year ago. A lot of institutions are starting to get into cryptocurrency. A lot of people like Jamie Dimon, that were hating on Bitcoin, are now buying Bitcoin. So it's definitely getting into mainstream. I think we're still many years off from mainstream adoption, which is why I do think a $500,000 Bitcoin is not necessarily a crazy thing. I'm not going to predict that or anything. My price predictions aren't that insane. But I don't think that's completely insane, because the Bitcoin adoption is increasing insanely. We have a lot of room to go, but we're also seeing a lot of adoption right now. So the reason I'm talking about all this is because I want to show you why I'm still really very bullish on the Bitcoin market, despite what the chart might show you. One thing to wrap up the video here. I've shown this website in a couple of different videos before, but I think this would be a comical way to end the video. I want to bring you to a website called 99bitcoins.com on their page called Bitcoin Obituaries. And as you can see, Bitcoin has died 269 times. So if you're worried about Bitcoin, well, write an article and make it 270, because a lot of people have written articles that say, okay, Bitcoin's dead, everything's going to hell, it's going to hell in a handbasket, the sky's falling, the floor's falling out from under us. A lot of you guys in my comments, not necessarily my subscribers, but a lot of people that watch my videos seem to think that. You're wrong. I don't know what else to say. People have been saying that Bitcoin's going to die since Bitcoin first got anyone's attention that was in a mainstream media news outlet. If we can come back here to 14, some of these articles are from like 2010, 2013, 2012. I think there's some from 2011. There is one from 2010. Why Bitcoin can't be a currency? Economist, 23 cents. Yeah, I bet that guy wish he had a bought some, doesn't he? But a lot of people think that 500,000 or a million is a ridiculous number. I don't necessarily think that. I just don't know because I don't have a crystal ball in front of me. I just have a microphone in front of me and a computer monitor. I'm just a guy on the internet with an opinion. That's all I am, which is why you should never take me or anyone else's opinion as financial advice. You should do your own research. But anyway, guys, I just want to do a little bit of longer-term technical analysis in this video to show you what the really important levels are for the next couple of months here in Bitcoin. And I also want to show you why the long-term outlook for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is still very good. Just because we had a little pullback here over the last 3 months doesn't mean it doesn't mean anything. Excuse me, I was about to curse there. It doesn't mean anything. It just doesn't mean anything. Price action does not mean anything in the long term. What matters is how much people are using the technology in their everyday lives and don't even care about the market. That's what's important. That's what drives the stock market. That's what drives cryptocurrency markets, is the actual adoption. And to be honest, if we ran up here to $20,000 on a bunch of people just buying the cryptocurrency because they wanted to turn $10 into $1 million overnight, well, you know what? We shouldn't have been worth $20,000. We should have had a pullback, and I think we're having that pullback. I think Bitcoin's value right now is much closer to its actual value than it was when we were up here at 20,000. This was definitely a bit of a bubble, and we kind of popped. And that's actually a good thing. A lot of people are freaking out. It's not, don't worry. That's all I'm trying to say. Don't worry. Everything is going to be fine. Anyway, guys, that's my little tirade for the day. Normally I don't make videos this long, but I had a lot to say, so if you like that kind of format, tell me about it in the comments down below, or you can also join the Discord server and come tell me in person. We're getting close to 100 people in the Discord server, which doesn't sound like a lot compared to the subscriber count, but it's very, very cool to me because we're actually starting to have some good conversations in there. Not that we weren't before. But anyway, guys, I've rambled on for far too long. I'm going to close it out here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.